You probably think of history as a done deal, a story that's already been written, bound in a book, and left to collect dust. But what if it's not? What if the real story is still being uncovered, not with a pen, but with a shovel and a brush? What if one discovery could change everything we thought we knew? For a long time, we were pretty confident we had the timeline of humanity all mapped out. But hidden across the world, buried under thousands of years of dirt and secrets, are discoveries so shocking they forced us to rip pages out of the history books and start over. Today, we're digging into 5 incredible finds that didn't just add to history, they completely rewrote it. Our story starts in 1799, in the blistering heat of Egypt's Nile Delta. A group of Napoleon's soldiers were rebuilding a fort near a town called Rosetta when they hit something hard. It wasn't gold or jewels. It was a broken slab of dark stone, covered in 3 different styles of writing. That rock, the Rosetta Stone, would turn out to be the master key to an entire lost civilization. Before this, ancient Egypt was a land of beautiful but silent mysteries. We could see the grand temples and the cryptic hieroglyphs, but the ability to actually read them had been lost for 1,400 years. Scholars could only guess what all the pictures and symbols meant. It was like having a library full of incredible books in a language nobody on earth could speak. The history, religion, and daily lives of the Egyptian people were completely locked away. The Rosetta Stone changed everything. It featured the same royal decree from 196 BC, written in 3 scripts: formal hieroglyphs, the common Demotic script, and, most importantly, ancient Greek. Since scholars could still read Greek, they finally had a guide. It was the ultimate code book. Of course, it wasn't easy. It took over 20 years of intense intellectual sparring. Scholars like England's Thomas Young made huge leaps, figuring out that some symbols stood for sounds. But it was a French genius, Jean-François Champollion, who finally cracked the code wide open. He realized the hieroglyphs were a complex puzzle of alphabetic, syllabic, and symbolic signs. Suddenly, a silent civilization started talking. Temple walls weren't just decoration, they were history books. Papyrus scrolls weren't just old paper, they were poems, legal contracts, and spells. The voices of pharaohs and ordinary people, silent for almost 2,000 years, could be heard again. The discovery didn't just give us a translation, it gave us back the entire vibrant world of ancient Egypt. Next, we head to the stunning Bay of Naples, Italy, to a city that owes its existence to a complete catastrophe. In 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted with terrifying force, burying the bustling Roman city of Pompeii under a thick blanket of ash. It was a horrific tragedy, but that same ash created a time capsule unlike anything else on Earth. Before we started digging up Pompeii in the 18th century, most of what we knew about Roman life came from the writings of the rich and powerful. We knew about their wars, their politics, and their giant monuments. But what about regular people? The bakers, the artists, the tavern owners? Their world was practically invisible. Pompeii brought that world to life in shocking, tragic detail. The ash preserved everything. Archaeologists found homes with the furniture still in place. They found loaves of bread still in the ovens, and coins left scattered on shop counters. The walls were covered in graffiti, from political ads to personal insults, giving us the unfiltered thoughts of the city's residents. Recent finds from 2024 and 2025 are still revealing secrets, like an ancient construction site that shows exactly how Romans mixed their legendarily durable concrete and even a waiting bench where clients would sit to ask for favors from a wealthy homeowner. Maybe the most haunting discovery was the empty spaces in the hardened ash left by the victims' bodies. By pouring plaster into these voids, archaeologists created eerie, detailed casts of people in their final moments. For centuries, we built stories about these figures based on how they looked or where they were found. But new science is rewriting even those stories. A 2024 DNA study revealed that two figures found locked in an embrace, long believed to be two women, actually included a man. Another cast, thought to be a mother clutching her child, was found to be an unrelated man. It shows that even after centuries of study, Pompeii keeps revealing just how much we don't know, offering a complete picture of a Roman city, a moment of life frozen in a second of death. Our next stop is a series of caves high in the cliffs overlooking the Dead Sea. In 1947, a young Bedouin shepherd, looking for a lost goat, threw a rock into a cave and heard pottery smash. The discovery he made inside would set the worlds of archaeology and religion on fire. He'd found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Before 1947, the oldest copies of the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, were from the 9th and 10th centuries AD. That left a huge, 1,000-year gap between when the original texts were supposedly written and our earliest physical proof. For centuries, scholars had to trust that the Bible had been copied accurately over time, but they couldn't be sure. Finding the Dead Sea Scrolls was like finding the original blueprints for a building you've only ever seen in pictures. Preserved for 2 millennia in clay jars, these manuscripts dated as far back as the 3rd century BCE, making them 1,000 years older than any biblical text ever found. When scholars compared them to the modern Bible, they were flawed. The text was virtually identical, proving just how meticulously the scriptures had been copied down through the generations. But the scrolls were more than just old copies of the Bible. They were a whole library of unknown texts, commentaries, rulebooks, and writings from a mysterious Jewish community at Qumran. These texts painted an incredibly detailed picture of Jewish thought and life during the turbulent era when Christianity was just beginning. They showed that many ideas central to the New Testament, a coming Messiah, a war between light and darkness, a teacher of righteousness, were already part of a vibrant debate within Judaism. The scrolls didn't undermine faith, they enriched it, providing a priceless historical context that had been lost for millennia. Sometimes, the biggest discoveries aren't found in a temple, but inside a tiny fragment of bone. For more than a century, we've known about Neanderthals, our closest extinct human relatives. The story we told ourselves was simple. Our ancestors, the smarter, more advanced Homo sapiens, swept out of Africa and simply replaced the more primitive Neanderthals. They were an evolutionary dead end. Then, in 2006, scientists at the Max Planck Institute launched the Neanderthal Genome Project. Using DNA from a 38,000-year-old bone, they set out to sequence the entire genome of an extinct human. It was a monumental task, but in 2010, they published their results, and our family tree was turned on its head. The genome proved that modern humans and Neanderthals had children together. As our ancestors migrated out of Africa, they met and interbred with Neanderthal populations. The proof is right there in our DNA today. If your ancestry is from outside of Africa, you likely have around 2% Neanderthal DNA. This discovery didn't just tweak the story of our species, it completely rewrote it. Neanderthals weren't some separate group that we conquered. They are a part of us. Their genes are still active in billions of people, influencing everything from our immune systems to how our skin reacts to the sunday. Far from being wiped out, they were assimilated, and their legacy lives on inside our own cells. In fact, the Neanderthal genome is 99.7% identical to our own. That discovery collapsed the wall between us and them, replacing a simple story of replacement with a much more complex and fascinating tale of interaction, mixture, and a shared human history. We learned that for a time, we weren't the only humans on the planet, and our encounters with them fundamentally shaped who we are today. Our final discovery takes us to a windswept hill in southeastern Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. For decades, everyone dismissed it as a medieval cemetery, but in 1994, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt saw something that everyone else had missed. What he found there didn't just push back the date for civilization, it completely shredded the timeline we all thought we knew. The old story was called the Neolithic Revolution. It went like this. About 10,000 years ago, humans invented farming. This allowed them to settle down in villages. With a stable food source, they had the time and manpower to create complex societies, organized religion, and eventually build giant monuments. First came farming, then came towns, then came temples. Simple. Göbekli Tepe demolishes that story. This site is an incredible 11,600 years old. That's 7,000 years before the pyramids and 6,000 years before Stonehenge. And the people who built it weren't farmers, they were hunter-gatherers. These people, who hadn't even invented pottery yet, managed to carve and raise massive limestone pillars weighing up to 20 tons, all covered in intricate carvings of wild animals. This changes everything. It means that hunter-gatherers were capable of a level of organization and symbolic thought we never imagined. It has led to a revolutionary new theory. What if it wasn't farming that created civilization but the other way around? What if the desire to come together for rituals and build something massive is what spurred people to settle down in the first place? What if the shared belief that built Göbekli Tepe was the actual spark for civilization, forcing people to invent farming just to feed the workers and pilgrims at this sacred site? New discoveries of what look like residential buildings nearby are making the story even more complex, proving that our understanding of this place is just getting started. Göbekli Tepe proves that long before we were farmers, we were builders, artists, and believers. From a stone that unlocked a lost language, to a city that opened a window into daily life, from ancient scrolls that confirmed a sacred history, to a genetic code that rewrote our own family tree, and a prehistoric temple that might be the very birthplace of civilization. These discoveries prove that history isn't a static collection of facts. It's a live, ongoing mystery. The ground under our feet is a library, and we're just now learning how to read its oldest books. What other game-changing finds are still out there just waiting to be unearthed? What part of our own story will we have to rewrite next? If you were fascinated by this journey through time, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the past. And let us know in the comments, which of these discoveries do you think had the biggest impact on history? Thanks for watching.